So someone was working on their face. I'm just going to again use my example here. And they noted that they were having issues with drawing the eyes, the lash line. It is a female. There's some makeup involved there. There's some lashes involved there. Not quite sure how to illustrate that. And then the other issue was related to shading the white of the eye. Okay. So again, for the sake of this answer, I'm going to use my reference photo here. When you're having issues with the eye, your best bet again is to erase the eye, and you could probably still make out where your grid lines are to some extent even if you've erased them. Okay, so maybe just pop them in, and you're going to go back to your reference photo. So what you want to do, see this is the eye that I'm having issues with, my best bet is just to go back into that box and erase it. If the rest of the face seems to make sense, your best bet is to just erase the part that's giving you issues. Okay, and then you want to go back to the reference and you want to break down the eye a little bit further. So again, break the box down. This is a 2 by 2 centimeter area that you're trying to transfer. There's a lot of information here. So to make it a bit easier, you're going to break the box down vertically into half. Okay, and horizontally. So now your 2 by 2 centimeter area is broken down into 4 quadrants. Okay, this is going to help you lay out things a little bit better because you can see exactly where things are. And the majority of the eye in this example is in the upper right side of the box. And she's got the eye duct and a little bit of her eyelid in the upper left side of my 2 by 2 centimeter area. Okay, so here I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to lightly pencil in markings to break it up into those 4 quadrants, which I will be erasing eventually, so keep them light. Okay, and then again, I'm going to pay close attention to where things are. So naturally, I probably would have drawn the eye even a little bit lower. Okay, but you can see that she's squinting here. So her eyelid actually comes up above that center line that I have here. She's actually squinting and her eye fits into this small little area here. Mind you, there's quite a little bit of quite a bit of lash line here as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here, and again, I'm looking at both. You do the same with yours. Okay, and her eye's actually a bit more closed than I thought it was. So her lid fits into this box, and the majority of her iris is fitting in here. And then her duct is in the upper left side, however, it drops downwards toward that center line, close to the beginning of that area. And then I've got a bit of eyelid here. You could do that with the rest of the feature that's giving you issues. If I were to move over to this next box just to double check that things are in the right area, I can divide that as well. And then I've got the majority of the rest of the eye. Mind you, there's more lower lid in this one that's coming upwards. And there is the odd wrinkle or laugh line. Okay, so I feel a little bit better about the placement of this eye. And again, at this point, you're just worrying about putting in the obvious line work. You're not adding any values or shading. And now you're going to carefully erase those extra grid lines that you've added in just to help you place things. Okay, so again, when you step back and you look at your face that you've transferred, if you have any areas that are really looking off and bothering you, your best bet is to just reapproach them. And the beauty of working with pencil is that we can erase it. Unless someone is a robot, they're not going to nail the features right off bat. Even with the use of the grid, you have to kind of go back and rework some areas. Okay, now when it comes to the shading of the eye, even if it's hard to see, remember what I said, guys, it's half of what you see in your reference. If you're having issues with seeing the shading on the printed version of the photo that you've gridded, look up the original photo on your computer or on your cell phone screen, okay? And then close up on their eye. But again, it's half of what you see here and it's half of what you know. And remember, we know that when something is spherical, it receives a little bit of a shadow on the sides to show that this is the plumper area that the light is bouncing off of. And then as it curls backwards or recedes, it receives a little bit of a shadow. This is information that we're going to apply to the edge of the face too. Anything that's kind of curved, the tip of the nose, okay, someone's jawline. Even if you don't necessarily see it, you know this as a young illustrator at this point. We've covered this lesson that when anything curves and is rounded, you've got that little bit of a shadow and a little bit of, if you see the very edge of the spherical object, you'll see a little bit of reflected light as well, okay? So again, I'm going to explain in my videos too that I'm going to be applying a little bit of shading and reflected light even to the edge of the face and with the nose. But with the eye, you don't necessarily see the edge of the eyeball. It's kind of hidden in there. So, but you need at least a little bit of shading in the corners, okay, to show that it's spherical. So if I go back to my eye, even in my reference photo, it's difficult to see, okay? You guys use what you know. Also, if your transfer is very sketchy and your lines are thick, I like to lighten them a little bit. So maybe erase a little bit into your transferred lines if they're too dark. Okay, don't erase them so you can't see the eye anymore, but you might want to just take away some of the dark lines. Okay, so I know that, you know, I need some shading in this corner. And if you're hatching, you're just going to hatch some lines in here. And then you also need a little bit of a shadow on this side of the eye. The darkest part of the eye, I'm going to go in and I'm going to pencil in quite dark because that's going to be my darkest value. And then you want to do kind of a medium gray for the iris. Okay, if you're shading it in, if you do have a stomp available, you can blend it right in. Okay, if you want to blend in the corner of the eye with a stomp, I would add even less pencil. And actually my highlight I want more prominent, so I'm going to go back and erase them a little bit. Okay, so with the stomp I find that it spreads the gray a lot, so you want to add even less pencil. You can just use, you can almost even just use the dirty stomp to add a little bit of pencil to the inner corners of the eye. Okay, so again, even if it's not super obvious, we're going to use what we know. about shading spheres. You don't want a perfectly white surface to your eye. Okay, with the lash line here, she is wearing makeup, so I can mostly see kind of a dark upper lash line.
She has like really thick eyeliner and like lashes on, so I'm not sure how to draw that on without kind of making her look like a raccoon.
Right, so you want to, again, do a thicker line where you see, right? And then kind of just wisp it out. Don't avoid doing the individual lashes at this point. I was just about to say, if there's like a really heavy makeup line or if there's a lot of lashes, to make it look less artificial and like a Barbie doll, avoid doing the individual lashes. Do a thicker lash line, and then maybe if you want, just do like the odd lash like this, okay? But don't do all of them like we did in our remember in our practice sheet, we did a lot of individual lashes. Okay, like a super close-up realistic lash. You're gonna avoid that, and you're just gonna do a thicker line on top. Just wisp it out a little bit if you want to add like the odd 2 or 3 lashes, just to add some texture. And then on the bottom, I would avoid doing a dark line on the bottom. Just keep the bottom lash line. Maybe add 2 or 3 at the bottom. Okay, and of course, don't forget to draw your eyelids. Your crease should be there for your eyelids. A lot of kids forget. They erase their eyelids and then they forget to put them in, and then they lose the shape of the eye, okay? And then moving forward, obviously, you're going to be adding some shading to the exterior of the eye. This is the plumpest part of the brow. It wraps back, right? You can feel your face. This part pops and then it kind of wraps back. Here, your face wraps inwards around your nose and underneath your lash. So inevitably, you're going to be adding some shading to further shape the eye, kind of in this area. If you're hatching, you can just, right, build up your hatching. Or if you're blending, this is going to help you shape the side of the nose too, right? You don't want dark lines on the side of the nose. You want to just shape the nose with using a shadow. Okay, it's half of what you see and half of what you know, guys. So shape that face using highlights and shadows. And of course with the brow too, okay? First thing is you want to add some shading to the brow. So if you're hatching, you're gonna give it a nice medium shade. If you're blending, okay? And then you can go back with some descriptive lines to show the growth of that. Some people's eyebrows grow down this way, just kind of exaggerate the growth of the brow, okay? And the more you add, it's all about development. You add add a little more, take away a little bit, but you should use half of what you see, okay? And half of what you know, right?